to let us get that access into his life to really accentuate the story and tell it in a way that gives it the redemption in the wrestling world, but also just highlights the incredible journey that it was from him, from a really dark place to the place that he is now.
Okay, hi David and Price, how are you?
Very good, thanks. This is David.
Very well, thank you.
Well, after watching this documentary, David Arquette is just a really nice guy, isn't he?
Yeah,
absolutely.
And
one of the nicest.
We kind of knew that about him already, but when you see the trailer, you think, oh, is this a gimmick or what's going to go on? So it's kind of piques your interest. So whose crazy idea was this?
I wish we could say it was ours, but it was actually David's. He had the foresight to know that if he was actually going to do this, then the story of him doing it was worth telling. Mm-hmm. And so our challenge as filmmakers was whether or not he was actually going to do it, because it was a huge undertaking. When we started the project, he was massively overweight, pretty depressed, and not a great place in life, as the film sort of illustrates at the beginning. Mm-hmm. And so we took on the project very excited, thinking that if he were to accomplish what he told us he was trying to do, the story would be fantastic. And so obviously, you know, when you watch the film, you realize that magic happened and he accomplished everything he set out to do. And so for us, it was just a dream come true.
Yeah, and he stated in the very, very beginning, like, you know, we had to, as filmmakers, we had to say, like, where do you see yourself? What is your ultimate goal? And you know, and then obviously once you have the goal, you know what the journey, you know what sort of trajectory of the journey should be. So it really helped guide us, like how, you know, on us, you know, guide us as filmmakers, like where we were going to go. And obviously, like, he was so fully committed that we knew we were going to make a special film, you know, especially when the weight started coming off, and, you know, he was in the gym like 3 hours a day, and that kind of physical commitment, which then fed into his mental sort of stability as well. And his whole world kind of changed during the journey.
And I think what Price and I brought to the project more than anything was that when David had the original vision, he really had it tied more to the film being trying to illustrate that he respected wrestling because of, you know, the grief that he'd been given for what he did. Yeah. He wanted redemption to the wrestling community and wanted the film to really sort of highlight his love for the sport. And I think what Price and I did was realize that, yes, that's important, but there's such a deeper side to the story, an emotional side and a tragic side, and that's, you know, tied into his personal life and his struggles too. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what we added, and we sort of convinced him that, you know, to let us get that access into his life to really accentuate the story and tell it in a way that gives it the redemption in the wrestling world, but also just highlights the incredible journey that it was from him, from a really dark place to the place that he is now, which has sort of come full circle and doing really well.
Yeah, he's he, like you mentioned, he is in sort of a dark area mentally, and so you're wondering, like, oh my God, what's going to happen to this guy, because he's not mentally sound. And, you know, he had a heart attack. You mentioned that he's depressed, so you see some of the treatments he's going through. So, I mean, were you concerned at all that maybe, you know, you have to make sure that mentally he's up for this, and that you feel responsibility not to take advantage of someone who might be vulnerable?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it was a real struggle for us because we fell in love with David personally throughout this as well. He's become such a dear friend of ours. And so to see your friend struggling was really tough. And you've always got to navigate that really tough balance between capturing what you're seeing and feeling for the person that you've come to really admire. And I think one of the powerful moments, you know, themes in the film is the fact that you have access to these real moments in David's life, that the struggles that he had, like, almost led to the break of his marriage. And you see that in the film. And that was tough as well because Christina became very close to us as well. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, it was a struggle emotionally. But we never pushed David, of course, to do anything that he didn't want to do. And we just had the cameras rolling and captured all the craziness.
And that you did. So I wanted to ask you, I like the whole lucha libre part. They really embraced him there, right?
Oh man, Mexico. We had no idea that, you know, in Mexico, you get a government license to be a luchador. It's such a respected kind of career path as far as, you know, like not just entertainment, but culturally accepted. And they loved it. They loved what we were doing. It was the most fun, personally, like one of the most fun sequences to shoot in the whole film. We had so much footage. We could have made a whole movie just from that. It was like, you know, the street wrestling, the training, the just hanging out in Tijuana with like amazing, like those guys, Mr. Maldito and like the other luchadors. We owe the film to them. That section of the film, I think, is one of the hearts to the film. It's where you like really learns that, you know, wrestling is more than glory. It's a life. It's a passion and a sort of it's a lifestyle.
Yes, I want to thank you for, you know, portraying it respectfully and in a positive way, because like as a Latina, we don't see that often. They usually go for the dark places in Tijuana, and you showed like the nice, you know, inspirational places.
We found it was just so colorful, so full of life, and everyone was so welcoming. You know, that was honestly like one of the highlights of my career, probably our career, just like being in Mexico with David. And we were fully immersed. It was a life changer for me.
Yeah, that scene when they're overlooking the sunset on those rocks, it was a pretty amazing shot. I mean, that was beautiful.
Lucha!
Where was that in Tijuana? I've never been there. I want to go there.
It's like an hour outside of town.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, towards it's inland, you know, like towards Tecate a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And one of the more endearing parts was one of the luchadores gave him one of his mask and signed it. He got very emotional. It was very touching.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah,
and that was real. It's all real. It's like David was crying. It was it was, you know, touching. And he was there obviously with his best friend Jerry from the East Coast. So, you know, together they made like a really great pairing, a sort of an odd couple, and it was great to have that counter personality along with the ride as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's what his he's raw. David's emotions are very raw, and you see them and you see the journey of the emotions almost here.
Definitely. And I do love, now thinking about it too, that like Mexico taught him his signature move, which is the Hurricane, which is a total lucha move. And so, like, the luchador sort of gave David his career back in many ways. Like, his trip to Mexico was like an awakening. And he carried, you know, he's still, that's his move now when he wins matches, is his Hurricane. And the crowds go crazy.
Yeah, it was like that. The first time he did the Hurricane, like, it went viral on wrestling forums, on TMZ. And that's when we knew, we're like, okay, there's something here. We've been shooting for probably 3 months. We ultimately shot for over 2 years, 3 years in total for the whole project. But just after those few months, we knew, oh, he's actually doing it, and it was amazing. It was amazing when he did that in that match. We were just we were blown away.
Well, as a viewer, I was blown away, and I was like, that is so cool. I'm not a big wrestling fan, but I like lucha libre. But seeing that move, I was like, yes, you know, right. You're rooting for the guy.
Yeah.
Well, we have a Spanish translation version of the film, so hopefully it's going to blow up in Mexico as well.
Oh, definitely. It's so huge over there. And I wanted to ask you, David, he suffered a very serious injury. It was, at first I thought it was a gimmick, but when he gets to the hospital and you see the blood gushing, oh my gosh.
Yeah, we've had people like faint in screenings. And, you know, once you see that, you realize the commitment and how dangerous this like lifestyle, this sport is. You know, one slip up and you're dead. And, you know, luckily he was okay, but that was so worrying and terrifying for us as filmmakers, as well as the audience watching.
Right. And it's a testament to his character, because he went back in and finished the match.
Yeah, that's like the ultimate testament, isn't it? Because anyone else would have just run to the hospital, but he knew what it meant to finish that match and to stand up and earn that respect despite potentially dying. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's as real as you can get.
Yeah, you
so
see him. Yeah, totally. You see him in that moment, in that kind of internal monologue, really questioning everything, and it, that unveiling before us on camera was, you sort of, you exactly that. You knew at that moment how important wrestling was. It was like more important than his life.
Mm-hmm. And we get towards the end, as he's, it looks like he's going to accomplish what he sets out to, then he has a major setback with the injury. And then we hear his wife narrating the fact that Luke Perry was one of his best friends. And right after that, I think he's when he died, correct?
Yeah, he died during production.
Wow. And was he not able to talk up on camera? So the wife was talking about his mental state at that time?
Yeah, I mean, he went through a really tough downward spiral after Luke, as we talk about in the film, and wasn't in a good space. I mean, David's always had ups and downs and struggles, and that one really tipped him over. Fortunately, he's come around and he's doing really well now, and I think the film and where he got to physically and with his career is really helping him. But at that point during production and in his life, it was a tough moment for David.
Yeah, he lost his sister not too long before that also. So I mean, he must have been in a state.
Alexis was we sort of point at Alexis being there in the film, and we nod to her, and we did have, it was like one of those details that we would have, loved to have gone into more detail, basically. But obviously, the film, you're limited in time. But she was such an important person to David and to Patricia and Rosanna. Yeah. We had a little nod to her from Patricia in the film.
And I love his family being so supportive, and you show his sisters, and I really like that about him, that they have all this support behind him. And his brother.
Yeah. And for us too, not just the support, but to see the evolution of how they viewed his wrestling career was really important and interesting for us too. Especially his daughter Coco, for example, who at first was mortified when he started, but by the end was his biggest fan and cheering him along. I think Coco represents a lot of us that didn't think it was possible, just thought David was kind of an embarrassing character because of his public persona. But by the end, you're in love with him, and you see holy cow, this guy has the willpower to pretty much do anything. And so, it's a very supportive family, and one that took some winning over with the wrestling.
I'm sure, because I thought, well, hell no, not if you were my relative.
I mean, the funny thing, the irony being that fans are still saying he shouldn't be a wrestler, which I think is hilarious, even after doing it for 3 years now. They're like, he doesn't belong. So just to have the talking points of that, that the film's going to make waves and be special in the wrestling community and in life, in our culture.
Yeah, they need to see this movie so they see that he's true to it. It's not just a gimmick.
Exactly.
And one last question I wanted to ask. In the trailer, they tease that, and in the movie, they tease that his first time going out to wrestling and winning the championship hurt his career. Do you think people will see him in a different light now? Or do you think it'll help or hinder?
I think it's going to help him.
Yeah, I think he's having I think it's the start of his second act, personally. I think once you see true commitment on screen, that isn't just the cliche actor doing vanity bullshit. Once you see that real commitment, you can't really question his motivation and him as a person. He's committed for over 2 years, and he's coming back. He's got another film coming out, and this film's, I think he's at the start of something very special. And haters can hate, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the documentary demonstrates a side of David that I think a lot of directors and producers need to see, which is his, the breadth of his talent. I mean, we talk about in the documentary how he was typecast as sort of a goofball, but I think the film in real life shows that David can adapt any persona and live it to its fullest. And he's just so talented, and his stamina is just amazing. And so I feel like he's going to get a Marvel movie after this.
As a lucha libre, luchador.
Yeah, there you go.
I'd love to see that.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. I went into it not thinking much, but I came out. I was a real fan of the movie. So
that's brilliant. That's what
that.
we want. We want the people who don't like wrestling to love it. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Lupe.
no, it was a great film and a great journey to watch David go through.
Thank you, Lupe.
Thank you.
Viva el luchador.
Yeah, see. All right, bye.